Welcome back to our summer series of Cozypreneur, where we're interviewing different guest experts on all things marketing and business. Today, we are joined by Jess Wilson. Jess is a remote branding and headshot photographer with over 20 years experience helping solopreneurs save time and money while capturing professional images that elevate their brand, all from the comfort of their own space. As a mom, grandmother, fire wife, and thyroid cancer survivor, Jess brings a unique, compassionate perspective to her work, making photo sessions not only professional, but also fun and stress-free. Her journey is one of resilience, creativity, and heart. So, let's dive in. Welcome, Jess. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here and share.
I just read your bio, but do you want to tell people a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Jess, and I'm the owner photographer behind the lens here at J. Wilson Pics. First and foremost, a mother and a grandmother. I am a fire wife. For those who are not familiar with what that means, my husband works for the Forest Service. He's a wildland firefighter, and I have 4 grandchildren. I am a plant hoarder. I am a thyroid cancer survivor, and I've also been a professional photographer for over 20 years. So as for what I do, in 2019, when I received my diagnosis for thyroid cancer, I went in for surgery, and while I was recovering, I joined Clubhouse, not the Clubhouse of today, the OG Clubhouse. And I met a bunch of people that from all over the world that I wanted to get to work with, and I had seen other photographers doing something called remote photography. So I put a pin in it. But when I joined Clubhouse, I went back to that pin and looked at it and decided to pivot my business. So I like to call myself today, here and now. I am a professional photographer who offers remote photography services and a visibility advocate.
And this very important piece that we bonded over when we met, which was how much we both love purple.
Yes, very true. I know I saw that there was an option for a virtual purple background in here, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally taking that.
Yeah, if you are not watching this on YouTube, Jess has a purple background.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Purple.
tell us a little bit more pre-pivot.
Mhm.
What was going on? What was the first sign that you realized something was wrong with your health?
Well, so my family and I were originally from Arizona. We're from the White Mountains of Arizona, so about a 4-hour drive from Phoenix Airport up into the mountains area. And we had moved out here to Utah for my husband's job. He was advancing in his career, and he's trying to get up the chain as high as he can go before he retires here in the next couple of years. So anyhow, we had moved out here. Right before we moved out here, my family had experienced a series of traumatic, unfortunate events. It was kind of like a crazy progression of how things were going. So when we moved out here, all the kids came with us, and my ex-husband, who's my kids' father, had passed unexpectedly. I had both my oldest kids graduated from high school. My oldest, my son, had a baby with a girl that he was seeing still in school. So like I'm holding their newborn baby at graduation walk. Like all of these things just like within like a 2-month time frame. And then we moved. And when we moved, I didn't really think anything of it. I was just really tired, right? But I was like, okay, that's to be expected. Like we've been through a lot of shit right now. And then we moved, and like, of course I'm going to be tired. So I didn't think much of it. But anyhow, the very first thing that happened that was off for me is I was doing yoga. I came up from downward dog and instantly had the room spins. Like I had to sit down. If anyone is familiar with drinking alcohol in your younger years, and you drink too much and you get the room spins, that is exactly what it was like for me. So I had gone into the doctor, and they were just like, oh, your equilibrium is off, da 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 da, whatever. Gave me a prescription for motion sickness pills, which I think I took them once, and I was like, okay, like this knocked me out for 6 hours. I'm a lightweight when it comes to like prescription medication stuff, because I do a lot of stuff homeopathic and whatnot. And so I didn't take those. Figured out how to get my equilibrium off, so I would stop having the DC spells, but that's where initially my health journey started, because I went in for that one thing and then there was just kind of like a snowball of different things going on. From there, I didn't actually get a diagnosis as to what was going on with me until probably 5 years later.
Wow.
5 years and like 9 doctors later. Yeah. So, just first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that I am very fortunate in the fact that I have good health insurance coverage, because not everybody can have that. I have that through my husband's work. And we also happen to live in an area where it's very easy to doctor shop. I realize that a lot of people don't have that advantage of having enough doctors in the area, specialists, whatever it is that you need. But here we do. So from there, it ended up being, like I said, just a series of things. That particular doctor, I ended up firing because I told him he had a horrible bedside manner, because he looked at my chart and then looked at me and was like, well, if you just lose some weight, if you lose some weight, then all these symptoms would go away. And I was like, wow, you are a really horrible doctor. Like, I am working out 5 days a week and I prioritize my sleep and hydration. And so it's like, you didn't take any of my lifestyle stuff into consideration when you told me that I was fat and needed to lose weight, my symptoms would go away. You're fired. So anyhow, like 9 doctors later, I finally had gotten into a doctor. Now, let me preface this with, I started keeping track of like what was going on with me, because for me, anytime there's been a health thing for myself or my kids, I'm always like, okay, let's pinpoint what started it. What triggered it? Where did it come from? Kind of thing. So for myself, my hair was falling out. Now, it's normal for you to have like 100 hairs that fall out of your head every day. I happen to have really thick hair. And so it wasn't like clumps where there were bald spots, but it was still a lot. And it was a lot more than 100. I was having night sweats so bad that I was sleeping on towels on my side of the bed and on my pillow, because I was tired of having to change out my sheets because they'd get so sweaty. I was having really bad insomnia because I couldn't fall asleep until like 3 o'clock. And then I'd have the hardest time waking up in the morning at a regular hour. I gained like 30 pounds from out of nowhere with no return to sender address, which really made me angry. So these were things that I was starting to notice and pay attention to. So like several doctors later, I get into a doctor who he like looks at me and he's like, you have goiters. And I was like, what? And he's like, on your neck right here. Like, do you not see these or feel these? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, they're called goiters. They're like growths in your neck. And I was like, no, I just have a fat neck. Like, I gained a bunch of weight and it's just, he's like, no, no, no. We're going to go in and have that looked at. So I ended up going in and having to do a bunch of different tests. And so the test came back as inconclusive. And he was like, well, they're inconclusive, but that usually means that it's a suspect of being cancerous. And it was like, so you want me to go in and have surgery and have you remove these goiters, remove my thyroid or whatever, but you can't tell me for sure 100% that it's cancer. And so then I spent the next like 3-4 years totally like doing all kinds of different things. I did elimination diets so that I could figure out what was triggering inflammation in my body. I changed how I ate. I focused on my sleeping, really like went gung-ho. Herbal supplements. Like, when it comes to healing, I'm always about like healing with nutrition, anything and everything woo-woo. I love tea infusions. I love healing with food. I love using energy and meditation. I'm a firm believer that when you have health stuff going on, you can't just fix the physical or focus on the physical. Like, I worked on childhood trauma. I worked on energy releasing. I worked on generational trauma. I worked on my own personal spirituality. Like, you have to work on all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
It's like, also like you need like the self-growth piece of it, because it's traumatic to be sick and not know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Well, and then to have them come back and be like, it's cancer, but we're not 100% for sure. It's like, what?
Yeah, no anxiety.
Isn't that word then if you don't know? So I did a lot of all of that focusing. I had made a deal with my doctor at that time and my family that I was having to go in every like 6 months at this point, that if the goiters got to be too big, that I would agree to doing the surgery, whether it was proven that it was cancerous or not. So I want to say it was probably like 1.5 years, 2 years in from there. The things I had done to change stuff that I was doing in my lifestyle my supplementation, how I was eating, all that kind of stuff. I was able to shrink one of the goiters on one side down to the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen. But the other one on the other side had gotten large enough where they were concerned about it affecting my being able to eat and drink and speak normally. So I agreed and went and had the surgery. They were like, oh, we could just do the one side. And I was like, no, just take the whole thing. Like, I'm not repeating this process 5 years from now. So I had my thyroid completely removed. They took my thyroid and 18 lymph nodes that were surrounding it. And then they tested everything, and it indeed was cancerous on both sides. So it was good that I had them remove the whole thing. And that's been pretty much it. Where we're at today, I'm sitting at just hit 5 years cancer free, but still working through all of the wonderful autoimmune issues, side effects. It's been a slow and steady process of working all that stuff out and figuring it out. But I'm finally in a place where, even though I still have to take lots of naps and I still have to do blood work twice a year, sitting in a much better, healthier space.
Good. That's so great to hear. So as you were like going through all of this, what was going on professionally for you? Because I think listening to you, I feel like I would just burn my business
Right?
down to the ground because it would just be so much.
Great question.
So how did you
And
navigate that?
I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it a couple times, just being like, whatever. Nobody cares. Why do I care? When we had moved out here from Arizona, I was very busy in Arizona, and I never thought to market or advertise my photography business outside of the state of Arizona because I was not a traveling photographer. We lived in a small town. It's a small town where it's like my friends were people I went to high school with. Their kids and my kids were friends. Everybody knew each other somehow, some way, knew family, whatever kind of thing. And I was staying very busy with doing personal branding. I was helping some of the small businesses in town with their social media. They're creating pictures for them and helping them run their social media. I was doing a lot of weddings, a lot of families, a lot of seniors. I basically was doing a little bit of everything, and I called it life photography. I was very busy there. When we moved out here to Utah, because I had never thought about marketing or advertising out of the state of Arizona because I wasn't ever planning on moving, it was quite a hit for my business. So for the first year, I just kind of kept going as normal and just tried to basically, here's my box of everything I'm doing for advertising and promotion in Arizona. Let me put it over here in Utah and see what hits, see what's going on, kind of thing. And it was quite a struggle, not gonna lie. So I ended up taking a year off from promotions, bookings, doing anything. I did get a couple of bookings, but it was nowhere near as busy as I was before. But I took that year off. That's when I started to find that I was having health issues. And then I decided after that year, I was like, I'm going to really focus on headshots and branding because there's a lot of small businesses out here. The culture is different. The market is different out here. Like what people are willing to pay, what they put value in, that kind of thing is different out here. And I was seeing a lot of the same small businesses in some of the Facebook networking groups that I had joined for out here, where I could tell. I was like, I know that template off Canva, same stock images, da da da. Like I could see where literally they just changed the font and they changed the colors and they made a couple of adjustments to make it their own. But like I could see it's the same one. So here's this one thing being used for 5 different industries. And I was like, okay, there's obviously a need for business pictures, business photography, branding photography. And so I decided to niche down to that. And then as I got farther into my health journey, I wasn't booking. There were like months, consecutive months where I wouldn't have any bookings at all. And I didn't care because I was dealing with my health stuff. However, something that I have always been really good at and been really comfortable with doing is batch creating content. And because I've been doing my photography business for so many years, I have an unlimited supply of images to use for stuff. And so yeah, I would say I didn't care that I wasn't getting bookings, but I would still do like one Saturday out of the month and I'd batch create some content, stick it in my auto scheduler because I knew at some point I was going to feel better and come back and want to be working again. So I couldn't just let it burn. even though I thought about it a couple times. So I really just focused on that. I focused on continuing education. If there was stuff that I could read or videos that I could watch and learn about while I was laying in bed resting, then I did that. And I still, like I said, just made sure that I batch created content, put it through the auto scheduler. So I was still showing up. I still had a presence going. And then I focused on the learning aspect of stuff. That was pretty much how I got through all of that and still had a semblance of a business when I came out on the other end of it. And even at that, like now today, I'm still not as booked and busy as I was when we lived in Arizona. But I also look at it as when I did this pivot, I basically rebuilt my business because it's all the same, but it's not because it's done remotely. And so I give myself grace in the aspect of because I've done it before, I know that it takes a couple of years to get to a point where it's like, okay, I can breathe. I've got enough income coming in. I've got enough bookings going and da 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 da. So it's not like I did this pivot and expected it to just be like, boom, I'm going to be as busy as I was in Arizona kind of thing. So I'm still giving myself grace that I'm still rebuilding this new version of my business.
I resonated with a lot of what you said. Like, I think, for me who deals with like some mental health stuff, there are times where I'm like, I don't want to show up. I don't have the capacity to show up. And so for me, sometimes it's like, what's the bare minimum? What is the actual bare minimum that I need to do? And like, yes, I'm going to show up, but like maybe I'm not going to be posting on
Yeah.
social media. Maybe I'm just sending an email to my list and really thinking about what are the need to do's versus the nice to do's.
And I think on the need to do's, even it's like, what do I need? What is on that need to do list that's actually going to make a difference moving forward versus just us feeling like, oh, I need to do this. Like, well, what's the end goal of it? Like, is it something we need to do because it's going to be putting in the work for us? Or is it we need to do so that we can feel like, okay, we did something productive?
Right. I know. And then how do you discern like where to
Yes.
spend your time and what actually makes the most sense? And part of that is just like learning by doing and figuring it out as you go.
Do you give yourself like a rest week? Like I take 1 week out of the month and I call it my reset week. And it typically falls along the same timing as my monthly schedule. And so then I can just like hang out in bed and watch TV. And if I feel like picking up my phone and doing something on social media or whatever, I will, but I don't have any appointments or requirements.
Well, this year has been weird because I started a pet sitting business on the side. And so the schedule for that is weird because when I'm cat sitting, I'm working like mostly like weekend mornings and weekend nights because I'm checking in on cats twice a day. And then I like my lunchtime is usually taken up by dog walks. So it's a little bit different where I've had to like refigure out like how to take breaks in a different way where like I can't be like, okay, I mean, I am taking like a full week off for vacation next week, but it's a little bit different because sometimes I'm working 7 days a week. And so it's more like, okay, how can I take off like a Tuesday afternoon because this week I don't have too much going on in business. I don't have calls that day and I don't have pets that day. So I'm actually just taking the rest of this day off and choosing not to do any more work. So it's been a lot of practice with listening to my body and what's going on and looking at my schedule and looking at what actually needs to happen and kind of trying to find the balance between like, do I actually have to do this right now? And then giving myself permission of like, okay, you're starting to feel a little bit burnt out, so maybe go take that nap and don't just sit here and like try to
Right. I
plow through
love
your
that. I
work.
love that for you because and it's different for everybody, right? Each one of us is going to have a different balance that works kind of thing. But I love that you're honing in and listening to your body because that's your biggest little alarm bell.
Yeah, I know. And I talk about this a lot, but that was like my biggest lesson learned coming out of teaching was I just got so burnt out after years of working way too much and it took so long for me to recover from that
Yeah.
like now I feel like I'm like extra sensitive to it. Or I'm like, oh, I don't feel great. Like, hold on.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good thing to learn to figure out.
It is. How did COVID impact your business at all, or did it?
Because of COVID, there were a couple photographers that I was following online that started offering something called virtual or remote photo sessions, is what they were calling them during COVID. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's a really cool idea. And so then when I was recovering from surgery, joined Clubhouse, I went back to go see what they were doing because I had people like in Canada and other parts of the United States that wanted to work with me. And I was like, I'm not flying to Canada. And I was like, oh, I could run with this. And that's kind of where the pivot started and was inspired by, because I was like, I have people that are wanting to work with me. I'm obviously not going to travel to them. This would work perfectly. These other photographers are not focused on doing this anymore. There's an open spot here for me to take this and run with it. And so that's what I did. The app that I actually used was an app that was created by a husband and wife photography team, who they created this app so that photographers could still work together with models and do photo shoots virtually during COVID.
I'm glad that there was a silver lining there. Okay, so I'm curious, who's a good fit for virtual photography? And I know I asked you this when we met before the podcast, but can you talk about how it works? Because I know the people in my audience, if they're going to book, they're going to have a lot of questions.
So I will explain how it works first, and then I'll talk about who it's for, or who it works best for. So pretty much, Stacy, you get on my website, you book a headshot session. You're going to get a client prep guide. You're going to get a questionnaire. We're going to plot and plan together. Think Pinky and the Brain. Okay, I'm Gen X. So Pinky and the Brain style, we're going to plot and plan your photo shoot. And you're going to get a link to this third-party app that I use. The day of the photo shoot, you log into the app on your end. I log into the app on my end. It connects our devices together with SSL encryption. I basically take over the camera on your phone. So I cannot see or access your camera roll, your text messages, your phone logs. I can't get into anything on your phone, but it gives me control over the settings on your camera itself. So then, based on whatever it was that we had planned beforehand in our plotting and planning to take over the world, and we do your photo shoots, I pull the pictures all through to my end, I run them through editing, and then I deliver them to your email within 2 to 3 business days. That's pretty much it. And if you want to see examples of what these pictures look like, you can go on my Instagram or on my webpage or on my Facebook. All of the images that I share on there are all from remote sessions at this point. So that's pretty much how it works. Who it's for women solopreneurs, women entrepreneurs, women who are thinking about being solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. I'm focusing mostly on women because we are the ones that are running the households, taking care of the kids, taking care of the husbands, taking care of the carpool, trying to run a business, trying to run a side hustle, doing all of the things. Most of us have health issues. We are more likely to be overwhelmed and burnt out and stressed out. And we are also more critical of ourselves on appearing on camera. So getting pictures for our business is typically not high on the priority list. So remote photo sessions are for women that are busy, want to save time, want to be able to get pictures done so they can show up online confidently, but also have it be a stress-free, fun experience. And I can guarantee that it is that, because I've worked with enough ladies now. The way that this works, you literally can roll out of bed, get dressed for your day, get your coffee, meet me at the kitchen counter for a 30-minute headshot session, and head on into your next meeting or carpool or whatever else it is that you have to do. Like, it fits seamlessly into your schedule because the way we're doing it from your location. So you feel safe and comfortable. You're not like, oh my gosh, I'm in a weird new environment. People are looking at me. I'm so uncomfortable. Everybody hates getting their pictures done. I've been a photographer long enough to know and understand this, right? But when it's in your own place,
It's true, it's awkward.
It's not as awkward. Like, you feel more comfortable because you're in a safe, comfortable location. During our photo shoot, like, we're just chit-chatting. I've got some funny Taco Bell jokes that I crack. I ask questions. Like, it's like catching up on a coffee date virtually, right? Minus the dark humor, because I still try to keep it professional. And so, like, we're just visiting and hanging out, but I'm taking pictures as we're going. Like, 98% of the feedback that I have gotten on these remote sessions from the women that I've worked with has been like, okay, number one, I usually hate pictures of myself. I hate getting pictures. I hate doing the photo shoot. I hate the stress of it, but I wasn't stressed. I was actually very relaxed. I thought we were just like hanging out and chit-chatting. I had so much fun. And then they get their pictures at the end and they're like, oh my God, I look like that? What? Oh, it makes my heart so very happy. So yeah, so if you are a woman who is running a business, thinking about running a business, trying to run a business, and you need headshots. If you're still working with the same picture from like your high school graduation or your cheerleading days or whatever else, like I always say you should be doing pictures twice a year because as the year evolves, think about it if you have like pets or children, they're growing, they're maturing, the kids are growing up and getting bigger, right? Well, you're still growing and getting bigger and changing. How you look and feel and your aura and all of that stuff at the beginning of the year might not be how it is at the end of the year. So if you do 2 picture sessions, 2 headshot sessions a year, you're basically providing yourself a documented timeline of imagery for how you are growing as a person, but also as a business owner in your business over the years.
That makes sense because especially if you're newer in business, like your brand changes so much in those first few years. I mean, if I look at my first set of brand photos, I don't even like using those pictures
Right.
anymore because I'm like, that's not really how I want to represent my business. But it's like I was trying to be more professional and like look a certain type of way.
But isn't it a great reminder to you of like how far you've come? Right. Like you may not ever show them to anybody else in the world. You may not ever use them again, but they're there for you to look at to be like,
It's true.
I remember those days. I remember how I felt. I remember what I was thinking. I remember what I was going through in my business, what the struggles were. Look how far I have come. Like I have kicked butt and taken names and done an amazing job getting to where I'm at. And that kind of stuff is also really beneficial for when you are struggling in your business. Maybe you're not as busy as you want to be. Maybe you're just trying to decide if you need to give up or do something else, or just things aren't working or whatever. Having that kind of a visible timeline is also super beneficial during those times because it helps you to give yourself grace and realize like things may be hard right now, but look at how far you have come so far, you know? So just throwing that out there.
I'm picturing like, those picture frames that they make for little kids from like kindergarten through 12th grade, and there's like a slot for every year. Like, I feel like we need business versions of those.
Like in the school pictures. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I do it and who it's for. So I have a couple of different branding package options. I have a try it out session. Sometimes people are like, "Ooh, this sounds really cool. I want to try it out, but I don't want to spend the money to commit to like a full package deal." So I have a mini, which is at a very affordable cost. It's like 75, and it's a mini try it out headshot session. And then I have a $99 headshot session, and you get to pick your 5 favorite pictures from that. And then I have a bigger headshot package that includes way more images, and it is a little bit more in cost, but it's because you're getting more images, you're getting more outfit changes, that kind of thing. Because I do it remotely, there's a lot of overhead costs that I don't incur anymore. So I can afford to charge a little bit less than what a traditional photo shoot. Now, if it was traditional photo shoots, then prices obviously would be different. But because we're doing it this way, that's why I price the way that I do. It's fair for me and value for you. Why would I pay you to take pictures of me through my phone? And my answer to that is, have you ever tried to take your own pictures through your phone? You might take selfies and be like, I can take a dang good selfie and rock that selfie stuff, right? And that works.
No, but you're gonna take that selfie like 32 times before you find a good one.
Right, right. We're not talking like, oh, I'm just going to throw up a quick selfie and post it on my social media. You can do that. That's fantastic. Go for it. But if you don't want to have to do all of that extra mental and physical acrobats to like make it work, then that's when you would pay me to come in and do it for you. I'm guiding you through every step of the way. How much less stress is that? And then you get great pictures to use for your business afterwards. So what's that worth to you? You know?
That's awesome. Any last pieces of advice, words of wisdom, anything else you want to share?
If they're interested, to go check out my website. It's www.jwilsonpics.com. There is a button up at the top that says, how can I help you? And if you click on that, it runs through all of the different things that I offer. So I'd invite you to go and check that out. And I will leave you with this one thing. A lot of women in my many years of doing pictures have said, I am not photogenic. I'm too big. I've gained weight. My body shape's different. Having issues with my hair. Maybe their health issues are making their hair fall out, whatever, get thin, whatever. I haven't colored it. I haven't cut it. I've been chasing kids around. Like, I can't remember the last time I showered, let alone try to plan a photo shoot or whatever, right? And I just want you to know that whatever it is that your brain is telling you that you are not photogenic for, it's not true. It's lying to you. It's lying to you to protect you. Most people, when they think about photographs, getting pictures done, the root feeling that comes up is fear, right? And so for most women, that comes across as I'm not photogenic. I have to change this. I have to do that when I'm ready, when I have money to get a new outfit, da, 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 da. And it's really just your brain protecting you. It's scared for you to be seen because you don't want to be judged, because you don't want to be laughed at, you don't want to be made fun of. And that's okay. And I just want people to realize and understand that they're not alone in that. You would be surprised at the amazing, confident, strong women that you ask them to get in front of a camera and they're like, huh? What? I don't think so, right? So it's literally just your brain telling you a story that is not real to protect you from the things that it is fearful of. You really are amazing, beautiful, and confident and perfect in all of your imperfect glory. And I think it's important for people to realize that there is no one else on the planet like you. Like, I know that's probably kind of cliche, but if you really think about it, it's so true. Like, nobody else thinks about things the way you do. Even if there's 10 other people in your same industry, they're not doing it the way you're doing it. They're not offering it the way you're offering it. They're not thinking about it or creating about it the way that you are. Do you know why? Because you are unique in what you bring to the table and how you do things. So I hope people will remember that more. And yeah, I hope that'll make sense. So there you go. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Beautifully said. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Cozypreneur. If you like the show, make sure to rate it, leave a review, and tell your biz bestie about it. And make sure to check out Jess's links. I will link everything in the show notes and get some virtual photos taken. All right, until next time.